The return of the king. The return of
The Mac.
the, the that too. The return of McDonald's chicken tenders that are available at select locations. Then they're actually pretty good. Nice crispy chicken tenders. So today we're going to be talking all about the chicken tenders that we would like to see return in the video game space, the McDonald's of video games, the genres that should come back and be oversaturated again like they used to be, and then die out in a miserable, painful death.
And then be live
Um,
serviced. There you go. That's when you know you
Lance,
really hit success.
so this was your idea, man. Just talking genres that need to return. Just a little shoot the shit conversation about a genre or two we'd like to see come back, eh?
Yeah, it was in. I think everybody can probably guess. It was when Claire was getting a good amount of positivity, buzz, hype, and stuff, and it was to come out. A lot of people warming up to it, and it was kind of like a lot of people were throwing around the similar phrasing of like, "Oh, turn-based RPGs are making a comeback" and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, to a degree, yeah, but it's not like they've gone anywhere. It's just you don't fucking buy the damn things, people. Jesus
Exactly.
Christ, like this, because this is what kind of annoyed me. Like we're already beginning off with a tangent and stuff, and it's like I love Larian, I love Baldur's Gate 3, but so much praise was thrown their way as if they're the first person to like break down that wall, and it's so disingenuous of like, oh yeah, CRPGs are back. It's like, no, Owlcat was doing it, they themselves were doing it before Baldur's Gate 3. You had Obsidian still taking a crack at it. Like there's tons of games, and it's just, I get everybody can't be plugged in to everything. That's
Well, and I
understandable.
understand. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, okay, this is the game that possibly popularized,
Mm,
because there's such a degree of separation between like a Baldur's Gate 3 and anything Owlcat's ever made in terms of the amount of people that bought in. You know what I mean? So it is like getting it to a mainstream audience that it wasn't there for before.
yeah.
Um, but like that's not the case with Claire.
You don't think so?
No,
Okay.
it's, I mean, the game
I because
peaked at
it slaughtered Metaphor.
by a few, like
But
40,000
that's no, but
players.
that's the thing. What we're drawing that comparison with though as well is that you're talking about Atlas, who, Final Fantasy don't really dip into that realm anymore. Atlas is kind of that stay true to themselves, and they're still rock solid on top. So if this first game from a studio outdoes them, and I can understand why it opens the eyes a lot more to people. But it's like, again, these haven't gone anywhere. Last year we had contenders in Game of the Year. Infinite Wealth made it the final six, right? Not mistaken.
Yeah,
So,
I think so. Metaphor definitely did.
and this exactly. And if that was the case, if it was both of them, that's two out of six then. But there was at least one of them on that podium that's like, turn based haven't gone anywhere. You need to come out your shell, guys.
Right. Well, and it's also the thing where like, listen, Clair Obscur is definitely extremely successful, going to be extremely profitable for that smaller, obviously they had some outsourcing help, all that, but it's going to be profitable for that smaller team. Even with the outsourcing, that game is small in comparison to something like a Final Fantasy
Yep.
VII Rebirth. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth still sold much better than Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And like it it's just it I agree. It's disingenuous on a number of fronts to say like, dude, should Final Fantasy make a spin-off game or even a mainline game that is turn-based with a smaller studio, like a smaller studio tackling it, a smaller studio size? Sure. Like I do think that's probably pretty fucking a pretty smart move. But I don't think people are understanding what Final Fantasy and what Square Enix, their expectations are not, oh, we hit 1 million copies sold in 3 days, like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 did. They want to be Witcher level. They want to be Cyberpunk level. They think that, oh, we're an RPG just like they're an RPG. Why don't we have the same sales trajectory that a Witcher 3 has? And it's like, dude, it's the shit they're doing is much more complex than the shit you're doing. I'm not trying to be rude to Square, but like getting a fucking Witcher 3 to function with all the branching choices and all, like there's just so much in that sandwich that there's full on fucking meat that you don't even have in your burger. It's like I could go on and on. Here's the thing. Baldur's Gate 3, it like if you look at peak concurrent player counts, which who the fuck cares, but I guess that is a metric that you can look at. Baldur's Gate 3 peaked at like 1 million plus players playing the game at one time. That's a game that you have to buy to be able to play full price. Like that's crazy numbers. That is 10 times what Clair Obscur peaked at. Cyberpunk Cyberpunk peaked at like 400,000 concurrent players more than Baldur's Gate 3. That's there's levels, man. There's fucking levels. And to just tell Square Enix like, "Hey, dump $300 million into a turn-based," it's like, no, make us if you get a smaller studio to work on a spin-off turn-based game, then that's a great idea. You can make a massive profit margin, but not for $300 million. You can't.
No, and I think a lot of people as well, because I saw comparisons being drawn. There was a funny post. To me, it was funny. I think people are trying to be a little bit like hammering that home, but it was something like the PS2 had free GTAs, the PS4 had free GTA 5s or something like that.
Right.
And it was that comparison. It's like times have changed, guys. Because even with like Final Fantasy, you look back at like the development cycle of them. They had at one time, I think it was like 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 all in development at one time. That's 5 titles, man. In one, like, you think about, and because when I read that, I immediately thought of like, if you try to apply that logic to CDPR, would you expect them to have the next 5 Witcher games in development at any one time ever? That's
You
no.
wouldn't even want that.
And that's the thing. And it did make the product suffer. They had massive setbacks and stuff like that. So I think what Square's doing now, I think they still obviously need to get their feet on the ground with expectations, but I think they're in a lot
Oh
more
yeah.
of a healthier spot. They dumped their Western studios, which they just couldn't function them properly. They mismanaged them
Badly.
to the moon and stuff like that, because they also applied that logic of, oh yeah, everything needs to sell tens of billions of copies. We need to be everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, we could go on a full diatribe about this. I have so many damn thoughts, but it's Square is they're making turn-based games. Like they're constantly churning out turn-based content.
Octopath.
Like a fucking Dragon Quest. I mean, they put out um Triangle Strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're constant. This is just this generation.
Yep.
Like they are constantly churning out turn-based, like real deal turn-based games. Um, it's like they know that like that they want to be Witcher levels. They want to be 50 million copies sold, 40 million copies sold. You're not getting that with a turn-based RPG. But you're also, unless you're Pokemon, you're also not going to get you're also not going to get that with the RPGs that you develop. And so that's where it's going to have to be this real internal struggle where it's like, what the fuck are we doing wrong? And it's like, yo, people like choice and consequence. People like created characters. People like all these different things that you're getting in your Witchers and your, whatever you want to throw in there, cyberpunks or whatever the case.
It's consumer
Like,
preference. It like because they go with the values of is a JRPG. It's made by a Japanese studio and trying to target a Japanese audience a lot of the time and stuff like that, because it's what they grew up with and it's what they're used to. But unfortunately, the majority of the market is Western. Like everything that sells is and breaks bank. You're talking Baldur's Gate, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, and stuff like that. These are all millions of copies primarily shifted over here. And that's why it has them values, because that's what they're searching for. So that's why it's probably a very difficult thing to try and get people to be convinced. Because we did a video just before this with me saying about Lost Odyssey and stuff like that. When you're trying to just force a set of fans that are used to something and wanting something, and then it doesn't matter how good that product is. If it's something that they're not used to and they don't want to really know and interact with, they're just not going to interact with it. So that is why you've seen Final Fantasy unfortunately shed its turn-based roots, and they've gone like Final Fantasy 14, the MMO. That's not turn-based and stuff. That thing is a moneymaker.
Plenty
Final
money.
Fantasy 15, a little bit of a wobble, but it was a decent success, all things considered.
Still sold well, yeah.
Considering how bad and mired that development was, and then obviously 16 and the remakes are just really, really smash hit successes. So
Yeah. And I mean, it's also like it's the same thing where every time you hear them say their expectations weren't met for a recent game, you got to understand that Square Enix expectations. That's not like, listen, if you want Baldur's Gate 3, if you want to make a turn-based game and you want to have Baldur's Gate 3 levels of success, if that's what you're aspiring for your next, Final Fantasy 17 is going to be a turn-based game and we want it to have Baldur's Gate 3 levels of sales. If that's what you're telling your fucking investors, if that's your benchmark, make sure you have 754 different endings. Make sure that you can romance every character in 45,000 different ways. Make sure that you can fucking equip this custom build that turns one eye blue, one eye green, and snorts fucking yellow Mountain Dew out of your eardrums. Like, you got to have a level of variety on offer for the systems, the gameplay, the choice, the consequence. Like, I don't know if y'all got that, man. Like, just being totally real, I don't know if y'all got that. If you do, show us. Like, I, but that's the thing is like, I'm not the one bitching. I like the state of Final Fantasy. I'm totally fine with continuing to play Final Fantasy games the way they are. If they want to make a turn-based one, I'll probably check that one out too. If it's like Expedition 33 inspired turn-based combat, fuck yeah.
yeah, just to close off this big ass rant that we got ourselves on. It's the thing of that's what I was talking about, is that, and what we both touched on. These games haven't gone anywhere. Like, yeah, Final Fantasy
No,
isn't doing it anymore, but that doesn't mean that they've poofed gone away. So yeah.
absolutely. I mean, we could go on for a million years about this, but it's yeah, I do find some of that to be just so wild. Where it's like, yeah, Claire Expedition 33, attempt that for your next Final Fantasy game. So I'm totally fine with that, totally open to it. But that's not the type of money Square Enix is looking to make. But
It
it's
would be
not the type of money
very,
that.
very intriguing, though, I will say, just from
Oh
a
yeah.
perspective of you've got in the door the most amount of players ever in comparison to the other stuff, really, with them remakes. I wonder how many of them would be open to the adoption, because the amount of comments I saw in Expedition 33 of people turning around and going, it's not actually what they even expected, because they heard turn based be thrown around so much, and it's obviously a lot more involved than just click button attack. They
Well, that's
hit
me.
you back and stuff like that. So there were a lot of people that were like, dude, I'm 2 hours in and I hate this. This isn't what I wanted
Oh
at all. This isn't what I'm expecting Persona. I'm expecting Final Fantasy X and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, you can't please everyone.
yeah, that is the unfortunate reality, my friend. But I guess to the point at hand here, your entire concept was spun off of that ramble. So I guess it's proper to have the ramble in place so that it provides the much needed context for why we're about to have the conversation of which genres need to return into the video game sphere.
Mm.
My friend Loon, I'm gonna let you kick this one off first. What is a genre, the genre that you need to see come back to the mainstream, to the masses, or just to your console of choice?
So, as I said, the thing that obviously spawned that thought process was the fact that Claire's getting such success, and I thought of like, what is like there a gap in? What is there an actual gap in? Because there are people that were running with that story that turn-based RPGs are kind of sparse and stuff, and it was like, I don't think they are. But you know what I do think there is a very, very big gap of is third person cover based like bro shooters kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Um
yes.
I was thinking like let me make sure this is yep. Let me roll that. Stuff like Army of Two, stuff like Resident Evil 5. Um these games, I know they aren't the highest brow kind of stuff. They're not meant to be that kind of thing. They're just 6 hour campaigns, and it takes you back to that thing of like where there's so much bloat in gaming now. I would yearn for a return of these things. Even
Yes.
stuff like, I know Kane and Lynch is a bad game, but that kind of like that length and that kind of thing, and just make it polished and just have it be big, huge set pieces. Because what I was thinking of as well is, I think there is actually a yearning, people just don't know it, if that makes sense. Because you're looking at the split fiction success, right, of co-op games that are constantly explosive and moving you forward. I think if you could replicate that in a way of being a third person campaign, I think that would be a big, big, big success. But they kind of usually get bogged down in the cover based aspect of that a lot more so than actually crafting a really well formulated campaign.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, Space Marine 2, I think, is a good example,
Yep.
as we talked about before, where it's like you see there's a yearning for this style of game to come back. That thing did crazy, crazy numbers. I think it sold like over 10 million copies, if I'm not mistaken. It's something in that realm. Like it sold a lot of copies. So there is an absolute yearning for this style of game. And like, it's such a bummer to me, not to turn everything into fucking Star Wars because boy, I've been doing that a lot lately, but I just would kill to get a third person Mandalorian game, third person
Yep.
bounty hunter game. You could throw in some co-op elements in that, have your uh, like you squad up with some other bounty hunters and y'all go out on a hunt, split the profits, the higher risk, higher reward. Like I don't know. Yeah, maybe for some of the more difficult bounties, you have to go and contract other bounty hunters and you set your own rates and like if you're, as you rank up as a bounty hunter in your Mandalorian game, if you're like a 5-star hunter, you can get and it's like based on the things you've actually done in game and you can ask for more money and get more money based on your rank. I don't know. There'd just be it'd be cool to see something like that attempted or just a single player fucking bounty hunter, Star Wars bounty hunter game.
See, that's where I was like tackling it from. What I was envisioning is something like, because we don't, something like an Uncharted, but a little bit scaled back. Because it's
Yeah.
the type of thing of like, the reason they're not making these types of games is because you would end up just, the ball would just keep rolling and rolling, and it would just get bigger and bigger, and then they just turn around. Well, why don't we just make an open world game? They just make this so much easier to make. Um, so I drew the split fiction comparison thing. I just want something where it's constantly pushing you forward, set piece, set piece, set piece. We don't really need downtime because the game would be like 6 hours. You
Right.
don't need that thing of like when you're in an open world thing where it's like, oh yeah, explosive climax in like Red Dead 2, and then oh here's 2 hours of riding your horse, and then oh big explosive thing, and then two like I, as cool as that is, as immersive as that is, as masterfully crafted as that is, I just yearn for a time back to more simpler days.
Yeah. Same, man. You can have one of those games. Like I think one of those games a year is kind of perfect. Where you have a Red Dead 2, a GTA 6, a fucking Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, whatever the case may be, something you're going to get lost in for 100 hours. But in between those 100 hours, we don't need more 100-hour games, like let's have those 7 to 10. Like, and I think there's also a situation where you see certain games begin to flop because they are releasing a 100-hour thing right next to another 100-hour thing, but more people want the other 100-hour thing, so they don't buy your 100-hour thing. It's like, well, what if your thing was 15 hours? Do people have 15 hours to spare opposed to 100? Like, I don't know. Everybody thinks currency is the only currency, but I think time is almost more important of a currency than money a lot of the time. So
It
I
is.
agree
It
with you,
is
man.
for me. It's the reason why, as I've said time and time again, people are probably sick of hearing me say this. It's why I still have not picked up Kingdom Come 2. It's got nothing to do with the game itself as like a product of quality and what they've accomplished. It's just there isn't enough time. There's no point in me picking it up because I won't be playing it. So it makes no sense.
Totally. Well, dude, I guess if it's my turn to bring back a genre from the dead, I got to go all the way back to the grave that laid to waste in the PlayStation 2 generation, and that is the car combat games, the vehicular combat games, your Twisted Metals, your Vigilante H, your fucking. I mean, you got to such a weird point where that genre became so popular that you had like WWF Crush Hour, where it was a bunch of WWF wrestlers and their specific customized cars that fit their character, and then you had Star Wars Demolition. It was so it definitely it's like we've talked about a million times, Loon, the Souls-like genre where it gained popularity with Dark Souls, um, and then kind of became its own thing, and now it's to the point where you can't breathe, where you're just suffocated by Souls likes, and it'll eventually fade out. Just like when Grand Theft Auto 3 came onto the scene, and by 2004, 2005, you were just suffocated with GTA clones to where there was no more room for any of them, and so the entire genre just died out. And you see it happen over and over again. Gears of War clones, like it always happens like this. And that is what happened with the vehicular combat game. They were just loaded to the brim. But there is a thing where anytime I see a car in a video game ramming into another car or being able to shoot out of that car or shoot with that car or blow something up or, destroy this building by driving into it or shooting a rocket at it out of the car, like there is something that just sparks in my fucking lizard brain. And I'm like, yes, 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 feed me more. Fucking like I do think that all ties back to Twisted Metal from when I was a kid. And I see something like Sandland and I'm like, ooh, tanks. And it scratches that itch where I'm like, yep, I'm gonna buy it. Vehicular combat, I'm gonna buy it. Mad Max, boom, I'm gonna buy it. Um, there's that new Fumes game that I've been keeping an eye on where I'm like, you feed me that shit, dude. Old school Twisted Metal inspired, very Mad Maxy looking in terms of the environments and the setting that you're driving around in. Um, but yeah, just that style of game, your cell damages, and like I could go on and on with how many cool ones that we used to have, and also you could go on and on with how many bad ones that we used to have. But I think that's kind of the thing where you had so many publishers trying to jump onto that trend, and eventually, of course, it's just gonna oversaturate. But now it's so undersaturated that we need to resaturate it back. So, Twisted Metal, can you please come back from the dead? Avalanche, the makers of Mad Max, PlayStation, get on the phone with those guys. Have them make fucking Twisted Metal.
Yeah, that would be a really good match made in heaven. The thing is though, that kind of gives me pulls of like a hesitation is there's been such a for the past like generation, I'd say, more so than any other generation, we saw a massive obsession with people chasing realism. Oh, it's not realistic. Oh, it's this like oh that looks cartoonish. Oh that and stuff like that. So to the point where arcadey experiences were heavily shunned and just pushed to the side. To the point where when they're being brought back now, they're having to be brought back in these like multiplayer only things. You think of like
Destruction All
that's
Stars.
exactly the comparison I was going to draw. Like when they're bringing them back, because you think that's PlayStation as well. They could have
Yeah.
easily made a Twisted Metal game, but they instead went for that. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think, yeah, we should definitely trumpet people like Rockstar for making very curated experiences and stuff like that, but that shouldn't be what's expected from everybody. Because then you do just get this product kind of just nobody wants to touch it. Nobody wants to do that anymore because the buzz around it will be like, oh, that doesn't look realistic and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, can we just have like fun? Because what warmed my heart, I think it was yesterday I saw it. They're making like an F1 game, but it's like they've compacted the cars as if they're like toy cars and stuff like that.
Oh,
And it's a
cool.
lot more arcadey. And it's like See, that's it, man. Because everybody in F1 who's playing it right now are very, very angry with how EA's handling it, as they always do. They get hold of a series and then they just churn them out and they make minimal improvements. And this F1, it just looks fun. It just looks enjoyable, and it puts the game first rather than, oh, it's crisp, photorealistic and stuff like that. It's like I don't always like. If I'm being 100% honest, 95% of games I couldn't care less with how they look. For me personally, it's more so what's underneath that hood rather than what's on
Yeah.
appearances. So
Well,
yeah,
and that's another genre that's kind of completely died out, is like the arcade racer.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's another genre that definitely is in desperate need of a revival. And we don't even really see attempts at reviving that much at all anymore, which is such a bummer. I mean, I know like we had the Hot Wheels game, we had the Hot Wheels game, we had
Lego 2K
the
Drive would probably fit
yep,
in that realm. You obviously had that Matchbox game, which was woeful.
yeah.
But yeah, it's
Not
just
often,
it's
man.
weird. It's so weird that how would you like give it as a gamey ass games, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like they just seem to be less and less prevalent. Everybody's chasing the next cinematic blockbuster and stuff. It feels like how films kind of went down that route as well. And
Yeah, well, and it's a bummer. To me, it feels even worse than that. It's like not so much that they're chasing the next cinematic blockbuster. They're everything has to be predatory. You know what I mean? In the especially in the racing space, it's like it's I don't know if it's hard, but it seems like it's hard to get a game greenlit from these different publishers if you don't come to the pitch meeting and say, "Hey, we got this way that we're going to nickel and dime people. We're going to throw microtransactions in here. If you want this muffler, you're going to have to pay $20 and 27 cents." It's like fucking A.
to be
But
fair though, it's a thing that falls on the shoulders of both the people making it and obviously the people buying it. Because you think of like with the Quidditch game, that didn't sell at all. That didn't shift any copies, and they weren't really all that. I don't think there was all that many predatory practices, but it was also extremely like underbaked as well. Again, like
yeah,
it's such a weird
that
balance that just doesn't seem to get struck like other
yeah,
genres.
that was a mode that should have been sold as a mode and not as a game. It was a mode. It was a mode being sold as a game for that Quidditch. It's like, well, no shit, it didn't fucking do numbers, man. That should have been something that you threw in Hogwarts for free.
Yep,
But
it was a shocker.
well, dude, I guess that's about it for my genre resuscitation. The car combat games. I mean, like we're sitting here talking. There's many others that we could go down and want to revive. The GTA clone, the arcade sports game, the arcade racing game. I know this is going to sound crazy, but like the choice-based Western role-playing game, like the short, more linear Mass Effects and Alpha Protocols and RPG. I guess let's say RPGs that you could finish in 20 hours. Like, good Lord, I missed that.
Film tie-in games. That's what
I
I
missed
miss,
that too.
man. I know that most of them were absolute piles of garbage, but there were some good ones. Quantum of Solace. Some of them Harry Potter games weren't all that bad.
Yeah, PS2 ones, original Xbox days. Yeah, some of them weren't. Um, yeah, I know that people are very much in their Star Wars fatigue, Marvel fatigue phase, but it is crazy how few Star Wars and Marvel games we've gotten in recent memory. Like, it's crazy. We used to get those games drip fed to us on a monthly basis back in the PS2 days. And now it's like you might get one a year or so.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that comes down to there's a lot of exclusive deals done behind the scenes, right? There's people who lock down the ability to make Star Wars games for X amount of years.
True.
There's a lot of people, and it just that practice in itself has completely blockaded any innovation
Yeah.
because it was what EA that had the rights to Star Wars for a very long time, and they kind
Yep.
of just sat
Yeah.
on it for the most part. They sat on it. They put some bad Battlefronts out, Battlefront 1 was underbaked. Battlefront 2 was, it got governments involved. It was that controversial and stuff like that. And then yeah,
Sony's got the rights to X-Men now until 2030 something. So yeah,
yeah, and they obviously have Spider-Man tied down to them. So
golly,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, which, you know, I don't necessarily mind as much for a superhero. Like for Spider-Man, it's okay, you make the Spider-Man
an
games. But
entire
like X,
an entire IP franchise is crazy. Because it would have been different if
yeah.
they would have locked down and been like, okay, EA, you can make Mandalorian based, or
Right,
you can
yeah.
have the Clone Wars. You had Star Wars in its entirety. What on
Yeah.
earth?
Well, even X-Men in its entirety feels insane. Like, sure, you get Wolverine, but like someone else can make a fucking a Gambit game. Someone else can make a Nightcrawler game if they want to. Like, what? That sucks,
Yeah,
dude.
they.
That's just
It just popped in my head. They could have done the Charles Xavier thing for the Nintendo Switch launch title.
yeah. Oh God.
Dunkin' Hoops with Professor X.
Professor X. Oh boy. Well, guys, let us know the genres that you want to bring back. Arcadey wrestling games as well. Fucking Def Jam. I would kill to see a Def Jam come back. Good Lord. But what rappers are you going to even put in it nowadays? I guess that's kind of a, I don't know. I mean, fuck. There's more beef going on now in the rap game than there ever has been, I guess. I just don't, I guess I'm just not as aware of it because I'm a old fart. And as old farts do, I'm going to wither away and sign off and go grab some McDonald's chicken tenders because Lord knows that's what my old heart really needs right now. More clogging. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Did I already say what genres? Well, anyways, I'll say it again. Let us know in the comments down below what genres you want brought back. How about that for an outro? Heart clogging and repetition.
It's definitely not having an effect on you.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you very soon. Take it easy. Goodbye.
See you later.